Okay. Okay, we can start right now. Okay, we can start right now. Okay, we can start right now. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah. Before we officially begin, I would like to say hello to everyone and welcome you all to today's webinar, which is organized by English Language Education Study Program of STKIP Pacitan and English Letters Department of Universitas Sanata Dharma, Yogyakarta. Today, Thursday, 18th of June, 2020. Yeah, I am happy here, and I would like to inform that this webinar is attended by 60 to 50 to 60 attendants, participants, lecturers, teachers, students, especially English department students, and also educational practitioners. So many attendees also will join us through live streaming YouTube channel that the committee has provided to facilitate those who cannot join via Zoom. And I hope that the connection and also the participants' enthusiasm will remain stable until the end of the webinar. Well, because the attendees here not only come from English background, so we will mix our language in Bahasa Indonesia also. Ya, selamat pagi, Pak Simon.
Selamat pagi.
Ya, I can hear your voice. Saya bisa mendengar suara. For everyone, for all of the participants, please turn on your video so that we can know face. Yeah, we can know our face each other. Please turn on your video. Yeah. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Okay, again for everyone, please turn on your video. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
And also on the down there, yeah, on the tool chat, you can see chat button. You can text to introduce yourself or greet other participants in the chat box. Ya, silahkan ditulis namanya, asalnya dari mana di chat ini, dalam chat box. Ya, ini dari ini ada yang dari Brau, kemudian ada ya ada Fauzan dari Bandung, kemudian Arila dari Unika Widya Mandala Surabaya. Ya, selamat datang, welcome. And then Ningrum Sekarsari dari Majalengka, Jawa Barat. Yeah, wow, it is from Malaysia. Thank you for your participants in this webinar. Dari Sumatera Selatan, dan ini Bapak Suryadi dari Banten. Yupita from Pacitan. Oh, ya. Yeah.
Ya nanti, kamu dulu ini ya, Den.
Mutiara. Yeah. Okay, next. Well, once again, if you have a question during the presentation, you can post it in the chat button here. First, I would like to thank you to Pak Simon for agreeing to give a talk this event. And also thank you for Pak Haris from English Letters Department of Universitas Sanata Dharma. Thank you also to Bu Kusna as the head of English Language Education Study Program of STKIP PGRI Pacitan. Of course, I would like to thanks to all the participants here who already registered the event, and it was really surprising. We have almost 50 to 60 participants here. And the theme today is style in writing, narrative versus argumentative text. Okay, well, our webinar today will be start by listening to National Anthem Indonesia Raya. Okay, sorry. Due to the problem, we will go on to the next session. Well, to make sure that this event goes smoothly, I hope everyone pay attention to the rules. The rules here, you have to mute your microphone, and then question can be asked via chat button during or after presentation. And then after the webinar, participant must fill out the information form provided in the last link, yeah. And then the last is certificate will be given only to the participants who join the webinar from beginning to until the end. Okay, everybody. Before we start the presentation, I would like to invite Bu Jusna Aprianti as the head of English Language Education Department of STKIPP Pacitan to give few words for today. The screen is yours, Bu Jusna.
Okay, thank you, Bu Indah. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Okay, thank you for all the participants who joined this event. Actually, this event is the collaboration between Santo Dharma University and also STKBB Pacitan. I also thank you for Pak Haris and friends there, and also especially for Pak Simon for giving us the brief explanation about writing. Actually, I hope that this event will give you the benefits and also this warm relationship will never end. Thank you, Bu Indah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you so much, Bu Jusna. Also, we are honored to have Pak Simon as our speaker today. Let me read a brief biodata of Pak Simon. Pak Simon Arsa Manggala obtained the master degree from Kajian Bahasa Inggris Universitas Sanata Dharma. His interest on stylistics, folktales, and children's literature. When I see his biodata and Facebook, yeah, he also as a bassist and also as a vocalist. So Pak Simon here is talented, ya. Memang bertalenta sekali, ya. So, and his email is simonarsa@usd.ac.id. Okay, now I would like to invite Pak Simon. Pak Simon has 40 minutes to deliver the presentation. Then, because the attendees here not only comes from English background, so kita bisa mix dengan menggunakan bahasa Indonesia. Pak Simon, the screen is yours.
All right, thank you, Bu. The chair. Thank you, the chair, for letting me having the screen. All right. First, I would like to say hello to all the participants. So it seems that the participants are from many institutions and from many regions. Even we have Pak Zek, Mr. Zek from Malaysia. We have somebody from Lampung, from Unmul, Mula Warman. Last year, I went to Unmul to have a seminar there, conference there as well. We have somebody from Madiun, Hulia, and all. Basically, I want to say hello to all. Today, it's very, what is it? I am very glad because I want to deliver something that I am interested in. I am interested in folktales or children literature actually. But when Pak Haris told me and Bu Jusna told me to deliver a topic in this webinar, then I asked them whether or not this webinar is on linguistics, because even though I am interested in children literature or in folktales, but my major is linguistics. So here I will deliver the topic on writing related to literature and also linguistics. Hopefully, what I said, this discussion will be fruitful to all. But I'm not sure that we will have a very deep discussion, because we have time limitation. But later on, we will continue discussing maybe in the future by having another webinar or another conference, and we can meet maybe after this pandemic era, pandemic time. Then we can discuss the topic further. All right, and also I would like to thank you. To thank STKIP Pacitan and Sanata Dharma University, Sanata Dharma English Letters, Sanata Dharma University for having me here to share what I have here. All right, let's start. Right. Can everybody see my screen right now?
We can see, Pak.
All right, thank you. All right.
So,
Then,
this also will join us to the live channel.
sorry. All right. So the title is Style in Writing: Narrative versus Argumentative Text. First, we will talk about the narrative in the first hand, because when Pak Haris contacted me, then my first idea, or the idea that first coming to my mind, is about narrative. And then Bu Chusna asked me to talk a little bit about argumentative text. So maybe the portion will be, more to narrative rather than to argumentative. I do apologize for that. But because this is a conference, not a workshop, then I think the goal will be to identify the characteristics of narrative and argumentative text. And later on, maybe in the near future webinar, or in the future webinar, we can have a kind of practice how to write narrative and argumentative text. But for this time, we will stop in identifying the characteristics of narrative and argumentative text. And we will see the characteristics of narrative and argumentative text by the perspective of linguistics. So we will talk about narrative and argumentative text, but from the perspective of linguistics. We will use linguistic terms. And why narrative and argumentative? There are many genres. There are many genres that we have, but narrative and argumentative may share some similar characteristics. So whenever we write and we do not aware of the characteristics, maybe we can fail to achieve the purpose of our writing. let's say pengennya nulis naratif tapi jatuh-jatuhnya jadi argumentatif atau sebaliknya, or we want to write argumentative text but it turns out that the final result will be like narrative one. So I think narrative and argumentative can be interesting topic to discuss. For example, in writing review and narrative review is kind of argumentative because you write your opinion about something, for example, about a book, about restaurant, about the movie, for example. Then you put your opinion there, and you may narrate, you tell your story of the movie, for example, or the story that you read or the book, for example, and then it seems that it is like narrative, but actually there should be difference. There should be difference between review and narrative, and those purposes and characteristics should be noticed, should be acknowledged, should be as the writer, we should know the purpose and the characteristics to deliver appropriate meanings, to write appropriate text. Now, therefore, narrative and argumentative will be interesting to discuss. And why writing? I think writing is feasible or interesting to discuss as well because it is different from speaking. In writing, the limitation is the space, not the time. Whenever we have conversation like this by speaking, then the limitation will be time, right? We have limited time, but in writing, time is not really the limitation. When we write something, then we can always edit, we can always plan, we can always revise our writing, and so on. So therefore, this topic on writing will be interesting because we will be aware that writing is not time. Writing has no time boundaries. Okay, different from speaking. Therefore, discussion on writing will need special attention as well. Now, this is the overview of my talk today. First, I will talk about grammar, and then we go to style. We see narrative, the characteristics of narrative, and then I will relate it to my previous studies, and then we go to argumentative. So this is the overview of our discussion today. And I would like to have more discussions rather than me speaking all of the time. So later on, maybe I will have a short explanation or elaboration, and then we will continue to the question and answer and discussion. Basically, I would like to have discussion more. All right. The first part is the grammar, theories of language. Now, here, I think we need to discuss grammar first whenever we discuss writing, because in writing we use language, and grammar is a theory of language, of how language is put together and how it works. So when we write, we use language, right? But however, there are many views, there are many perspectives when we hear grammars. Kalau kita mengajar lalu mata kuliahnya grammar, itu biasanya yang terngiang-ngiang itu struktur, formula, ya mesti, aduh grammar, mengingat-ingat struktur present tense seperti apa, lalu ini verb, predicate, subject, banyak yang harus diingat, ada terminologi yang harus banyak diingat. Nah, Itu salah satu pandangan tentang grammar. There are many perspectives, there are many views, there are many names for grammars. There are many schools of grammars. For example, traditional grammar, formal grammar, and functional grammar, and so on, many more. Now, traditional grammar, for example, for traditional grammar, this grammar views language as set of rules. Therefore, you find word classes, and for example, a noun should be modified by adjective. For example, everything that modifies noun should be called as adjective, for example. So traditional grammar views language as prescriptive, or what is it? We have rules there to follow grammatical language. Formal grammar is more or less similar to traditional grammar, but it focuses on the form of the language. Therefore, you have something grammatical and ungrammatical sentences, for example, because of this form does not match with this form, for example. That is formal grammar. And also we have functional grammar, which focuses on the function, how language is used to create the meaning. That's functional grammar. All right. Now, formal grammar talks about sets of rules, the form. And then there are tendencies in some books, or some teachers may focus on form rather than meaning whenever we talk about grammar. And grammar as is viewed mainly about learning and applying rules and so on. Therefore, seperti menakutkan sekali kalau berbicara grammar, ya, karena ini takut salah, ini rumusnya bagaimana gitu. Lalu grammar menjadi berat sekali rasanya. Okay. And also practice grammar at sentence level only. Sering sekali kita belajar grammar menentukan atau membuat kalimat-kalimat terpisah, dan jarang mungkin ya ada beberapa yang tidak seperti itu, tetapi kebanyakan seperti itu. Ada tendensi seperti itu. And what is it? Different form represents different meaning. Though I would not say that form or structure is not important, but the focus is on meaning. That is what we try to elaborate and discuss today. That form is important, but the goal should be to make meanings, to deliver meanings. Now, what is the relationship between this discussion, grammar, and writing? When we write, then we want to deliver something. Whenever you write narrative, then you try to tell stories. You tell stories. That's the goal. When you write argumentative text, it means that you are going to defend your opinion. For example, you want to persuade that your opinion is true, for example. So there is a relationship between grammar, the point of view, the perspectives on grammar, and writing. Therefore, I would not say that form is not important. Form is important, but I think the goal is on the meaning. Now, and that is the view of functional grammar. This is the example of how traditional or formal grammar and functional grammar see a sentence, for example. Now here, whenever we have a sentence, Sari sat on a bench. Sari sat on a bench. Traditional or formal grammar will see this sentence as noun subject plus verb, predicate, and this one on the bench is prepositional phrase as adverb, right? While functional grammar is more specific. Functional grammar views Sari here as the agent, somebody or participant who does the process here, the verb, the agent. And then you have material process, doing something, material process, and this one is circumstances. Another example here is Jono told a lie. Jono told a lie here. Traditional or formal grammar will see this as noun, subject, verb, predicate, noun, object. So basically, this sentence is similar to the first sentence. You have noun and verb, noun, subject, and verb, predicate, noun, subject, and verb, predicate. But functional grammar will indicate Jono as sayer rather than agent. So in this, what is it? In this way, functional grammar is more specific because it focuses on the function. Jono here is sayer, somebody who says something. Told here is what is it? Verbal predicate. All right. Oh yeah. I can make it into slideshow. Nah, this one. Sorry. Now, our discussion today will be based on the systemic functional linguistics. Systemic functional linguistics views grammar as an abstract stratum of coding between meaning and expression. It is a resource for making meaning. So the focus is on the meaning. So there is one what is it, quotation that I like, that to speak is to choose, to speak is to opt. Therefore, whenever we use language, we have choices, and then we choose the linguistic items because we have particular purpose, particular goal, right? Now, functional grammars focus on the purpose and uses of language, and it is a system of communication and analyzes grammar to discover how it is organized to allow speakers or writers to make and exchange meaning. So the focus is on the purpose and the meaning, not the form. So the form is not the ultimate goal of systemic functional linguistics, but it observes the meaning. Though again, it does not mean that form is not important, because form is used to deliver the meaning. So that is systemic functional linguistics. Now, in systemic functional linguistics, we have additional, interpersonal, and textual meaning, or you can say it additional, interpersonal, and textual function, meta function. Ideational metafunction is the language of representation. So you have ideas in your mind. In our mind, we have ideas, a lot of ideas in our mind, and then we represent those ideas by using language. That is the idea of ideational metafunction. So everything that we produce by using language should have ideational metafunction, because it comes from your mind, then it comes from your experiences, and then you select your linguistic items based on your purpose. But basically, you have your idea there. You have something in your mind, and then you want to represent that idea by using language. And interpersonal metafunction talks about the relation between the participants, between interlocutors. between speaker and listener. So we use language to maintain our interpersonal relationship, let's say. So not only talk to ourselves, but we use language to communicate. And then in communication, we try to achieve something with our participant, that is interpersonal metafunction. And textual metafunction is how you organize your language. For example, you have conjunction, you have, what is it, the terms like coherence, cohesive devices, so on. So that is textual metafunction. So to achieve particular meaning, then you arrange the use of language, your language. Therefore, you can get what is it? Your goal. You can achieve your goal. That is more or less a little bit. And there are many, what is it? There are many discussion on SFL. Even I saw there are organization or there are groups of people who make like community about SFL, and then they have, what is it, webinar or discussion on SFL. Maybe later on we can see together, or we can join them to discuss deeper. But today I will focus on ideational metafunction, means the representation, language of representation. And in narrative and in argumentative writing, in narrative and argumentative text, then it becomes one of the characteristics. Later on, we talk about this. One of the characteristics of argumentative and narrative text. Argumentative and narrative and argumentative text may use particular tool of language belonging to ideational metafunction. Okay, right. Now, one term in ideational metafunction is the transitivity. Transitivity, and the discussion will be based on Halliday and Matheson. Transitivity talks about processes by the verb. Processes by the verb. Whenever we say something, say a sentence, for let's say like the previous example, Jono told a lie. Then the verb is told. Told. The process is the process of saying. So therefore, it falls into verbal process in transitivity process. So because it is a verbal process, therefore the participant can be sayer, verbiage, or addressee. So we go back a little bit. When we talk about transitivity, the focus is the process, the verb, and then you have participant and circumstances. Each process here, material, mental, relational, behavioral, verbal, existential, each of them has their own participants. For example, material process here. Material process is the process of doing and happening. Doing and happening. Now, for material process, the participants are the actor, goal, recipient, or beneficiary. So a material process will never have sensor as the participant. Okay. Mental process, process of cognitive, emotive, perceptive, desiderative, may have particular participant, sensor, and phenomenon. For example, so I sense something mentally. I think about something. So I think about you. Then therefore I is the sensor and you is the phenomenon. Because I do not do something about you, right? When I say I think about you, that is mental process, right? Mental process, not material process. Okay. Like I feel happy, for example. So feel there can fall into emotive. But when you say I am happy, maybe that is relational because you are being happy. So this theory, what I said, see the different, what I said, the different meanings that whenever you have different form. So again, to speak is to choose, and then different form may have different meaning. Those are the notions that I like. So you have selections in your mind, you have things in your mind, and you make selections, and then that selection, what I said, can represent something. Okay. And that is in line with the notion in stylistics here, the use of language. Style is a distinctive linguistic expression, and style is motivated. Later on, we'll talk about style is motivated. Style is a distinctive linguistic expression. In the book, there is a comparison between style in language and style in, for example, the fashion. For example, when or haircut, for example, this is my style. Maybe somebody has different hairstyle, and that is distinctive use of what I said, the haircut. This is my style by wearing batik, for example. This is my style. Maybe somebody has different style. So style is a distinctive linguistic expression in writing or in stylistics. And then style is distinctive linguistic expression, particular use of linguistic expression. And style is a motivated choice because what I said, it is not random. It is not random. You have the style because you want to achieve purpose, right? Kalau kita mau pergi ke pesta, lalu kita memilih baju. Nah, baju yang kita pilih tentu tidak random, tetapi kita memilih baju karena kita ingin terlihat seperti apa. Misalnya, saya memakai batik misalnya agar terlihat formal, seperti itu. Saya tidak memilih memakai kaos misalnya karena kaos terlihat informal. Kira-kira semacam itu style. Style is a motivated choice. Right. And in writing there, style refers to the perceived distinctive manner of expression in writing or in speaking, just as there is a perceived manner of doing things like playing sports or painting. So this distinctive manner of expression in writing. So genres like narrative and argumentative are kind of style, because you have in writing narrative, you have particular style. In writing argumentative, you have particular style. Therefore, whenever you read an article and it says that it is a story, but it turns out that this is not a story. For example, this is a argumentative text, then it feels like this is not narrative, this is not a story, this is argumentative because of the style. Ini kok nampaknya bukan cerita, ini katanya cerita, tapi kok dibaca seperti argumentatif. Nah, karena mungkin tidak aware dengan stylenya. Oke. Nah, genres. The discussion of genres later on will follow the flow of thoughts in this book, making sense of functional grammar by Linda Jarrett and Peter Wignall. Because in this book we can see what is it, categories of genres. I think the categories are interesting to discuss. And by this book, then genres like argumentative, narrative, or recount, review, and so on should be seen by the social function, generic structure, and significant lexicogrammatical feature. Lexicogrammatical feature is like the linguistic features that you can find in text. So in the youngest, you can find social function, generic structure, and the lexicogrammatical features there. So for example, narrative will have particular social function, particular generic structure, and lexicogrammatical feature. To achieve social function, then you have the structure here. To have the structure, inside the structure, you have particular grammar, particular use of language. Again, grammar is use of language to make something works, right? To achieve the function. Okay, so we will discuss the genres, narrative, and argumentative by using this framework. Narrative is basically telling stories. In this book, narrative is one genre. Narrative is one genre. However, I would classify some other genres, some other types of writing into narrative by having telling stories here. So every genre that tells stories, I will, make it into narrative. I will discuss it under narrative genre. First is narrative. The social function of narrative is to amuse, to entertain, to deal with actual or vicarious experience in different ways. So that is the function of this text. That is the function of this text, to amuse, to entertain, or to deal with actual or vicarious experience in different ways. Remember, so this is the goal of narrative. When you write narrative, when we write narrative, then we want to achieve this goal, this social function, to amuse, to entertain, and to deal with actual or vicarious experience in different ways. Okay, and how to achieve that social function? In narrative, usually we have this generic structure. Generic structure. It means that this structure is general. So therefore, maybe there are some modifications in the structure that is not generic anymore. But the generic structure is this one: orientation, evaluation, complication, resolution, reorientation. So this is the generic structure. Some experts may say there are many structure. There are many other structures for narrative. In terms of the plot, for example, there are many experts studying plots and then classifying plots into many. For example, ada misalnya horor, itu plotnya seperti apa, ada orientasi, ada bagian yang karakter utamanya itu menderita dulu, gitu, kemudian dapat jodoh, kemudian jadi berkuasa, kemudian dia membuat orang lain menderita, and so on. So itu variasi-variasi struktur dari struktur generik ini. According to this book that we discussed, then this is the generic structure: orientation, evaluation, complication, resolution, and reorientation. So whenever we write narrative, we try to achieve this goal, social function, to amuse, to entertain, to deal with actual vicarious experience in different ways, and then by using this generic structure. And inside the generic structure, we go to the details. We have lexicogrammatical features. We have the linguistic features there, that it should focus on specific and usually individualized participants. So usually it talks about one person, for example, the knight, or a prince or princess, or a boy, a girl, a teacher. So it focuses on specific and usually individualized participants. And in terms of the the thing that we have discussed previously, it uses material, relational, and mental processes. So usually narrative uses material, relational, and mental processes. It talks about doing and happening. It talks about being here, relational being, and it talks about mental activity or mental processes. Biasanya misalnya kalau Cinderella itu melakukan apa, Ibu Tiri melakukan apa, nah itu material, right? Terus misalnya Cinderella digambarkan cantik seperti, nah itu relational. She is poor, she is beautiful, for example. She is happy, to relational. Mental process tentang berpikir, tentang emosi, and so on. And it uses temporal conjunction and circumstances and use past tense. Whenever we tell a story, then we use past tense because it is not what is it, something that happens right now. But like gossiping, for example, itu juga telling stories itu menggunakan tadi dia seperti itu, nice like that. So that's to achieve this what is it, narrative writing, then we use past tense. This is the example. Snow White. Now, Snow White here is a narrative text. It, again, the function is to amuse, to entertain, and or to deal with actual or vicarious experience in different ways. But basically to amuse and to entertain. Whenever we have this text as a narrative text, then the writer intends to make it amusing or entertaining. Jadi cerita Snow White itu diharapkan atau dibuat dalam rangka untuk membuat ini menarik untuk dibaca, atau orang yang membaca menjadi senang gitu, jadi gembira karena membacanya, atau gimana ya, to amuse. Nah, inside this text we have the generic structure, we have orientation, we have complication, we have resolution. Again, we have complication, resolution, complication, major, resolution. For example, those are the items in the generic structure. So there is a question. Loh, ini kok complication, resolution, kok ada banyak sekali complications dan ada banyak resolutions. Padahal di generic structure hanya ada ini. Now, again, this one is generic. So this one is the basic, the general structure. Of course, there can be modifications. Kalau beli obat generik, itu obatnya ya basicnya itu. Tetapi kalau sudah ada mereknya, itu di dalamnya ada macam-macam komposisinya. Nah, itu basically ini paracetamol, tetapi ada tambahan ini itu, for example. So that is not generic anymore, right? But the generic structure is this. Generic structure obat A itu paracetamol. Itu, for example. Nah, inside the generic structure, then we can examine the details of the language. Okay, for example here. Now, let's see the focus on specific and usually individualized participants. Focus on specific and usually individualized participant. Let's see in the story. So it focuses on a little girl named Snow White. So I would like to make it not in, what is it? Not in slideshow. Therefore, I can take notes here. Now, so if we see here, focus on specific and usually individualized participant. In this story, it focuses on a little girl, right? Snow White. She, for example. So it focuses on particular and individualized participant. Okay. Then it uses material, relational and mental processes. Let's see. Here we have lift, for example. Material, right? Material. Okay. Relational here, that were, her parents were dead. And hurt here. Hurt here belongs to a mental process, your perception, right? Hurt, talking here is verbal. Nah, and so on. So again, in narrative we have this one. The social function is to amuse, to entertain. The generic structure is this. The grammar is this one. Focus on usually individualized participant, material, relational, mental, temporal, conjunction, and circumstances. Temporal, we can see once upon a time, right? We have once upon a time here, temporal, right? One day, here's temporal. Okay. Okay, and so on. Right, that is the example. Now, in this book, there are other genres, separate genres, different genres, but I would like to classify them as narrative because basically to narrate means to tell stories. So, for example, here recount. Recount has a goal to retell events or for the purpose of informing or entertaining. So basically, the purpose is similar to narrative, entertaining, to entertain, to amuse, for example. It has different generic structure. We have orientation, events, and reorientation, and we have this lexico-grammatical feature, and so on. And besides, we have spoof, to retell an event again. So this one is similar to narrative, to retell something, anecdote, to make something amusing, to share with others, and others an account of unusual or amusing incident, and so on. And the generic structure is this. And the lexico-grammatical feature is this one, use of exclamations, for example, ada cerita yang karakternya kaget, kemudian lucu, kemudian, nah itu anecdote. Nah, what is interesting here is the additional use of language here, the transitivity. In narrative, we have material, relational, mental. In recount, we have material. In spoof, we have material process. In anecdote, we have material process. So it seems that whenever we write narrative text, then most of the time we will use material process or material verb. Now, so I have some previous research, and it is in line with this theory. Now, this is one of my research. Slideshow. Nah, this one of my research, and I asked the participants, which were English for International Communication course students, semacam kursusan begitu di Sanata Dharma. Saya mengajar di kursusan itu juga. Kemudian saya meminta murid-murid, para siswa untuk membaca cerita, kemudian menceritakan kembali cerita itu dengan menggunakan bahasa mereka sendiri. Nah, setelah mereka membaca dan kemudian menceritakan cerita itu kembali, after they read the stories, the folk tales, and then I asked them to rewrite reproduce the folktales by their own words, then the finding is like this one. In the source text, the material process appears in 20 verbs, 20 verbs. And the reproduction, the text by the participants shows that still material process is the highest in frequency. So the frequency of the material process is still the highest, right? So there is one finding here by intermediate students that mental process is the highest, but mainly material process will be very frequent in the writing stories. Another is this one. This is my paper. The title is the belief in supernatural power as depicted in folktales. The objects are folktales from Indonesia, the Philippines, and Vietnam. And I had tried to see how the folktales deliver some ideologies or some shared belief that supernatural beings are powerful and human are powerless, for example. Now, these shared beliefs are represented by mostly by material process here. The belief that supernatural being is powerful is represented by 41 out of 70 processes. That human is powerless is represented by almost half, or more than half processes found in the story. So material process here in narrative text is prominent. Second is mental. Third is relational. If you see here, material, mental, relational. So it is in line with this one, material, relational, mental. Material, relational, mental. Okay. And then one more here, revealing shared moral in Indonesian and Japanese folktales. Stay here. Now, the Japanese folktale also is also dominated by material processes, material, mental, verbal. And this one is material, mental, verbal. So basically, material process is frequent in narrative text. Whenever we write narrative text, then we use material process, basically material and then mental and relational. But in this finding, I found verbal, the third place. Okay, followed by relational. Okay, now similarly, the discussion on argumentative text will also see the social function, the generic structure, and lexicogrammatical feature. Here I will discuss three argumentative genres. First is hortatory exposition. That the function is to persuade the reader or listener that something should or should not be the case. This is the generic structure. You have the thesis, arguments, and recommendation. And this one is the grammatical feature, lexicogrammatical feature, focus on generic human and non-human participants, generic human and non-human. So this one is not specific. Different from narrative. Narrative is usually focusing on particular human, particular participants, or individualized participant. But this genre hortatory exposition focuses on generic human, so human in general or non-human participant in general. It uses mental, material, and relational processes. See, here we have similar characteristics. Therefore, like what I mentioned in the beginning of this talk, that narrative and argumentative share some similarities. This one is one of the similarities. It uses mental, material, and relational processes, just like the narrative one. However, of course, not everything is similar. Here, for the argumentative, it uses simple present tense, because the function of simple present tense is to show factual information, right? Therefore, whenever you have factual information, then your purpose here to persuade reader or listener will be achieved, because reader or listener will rely on factual findings, for example. Okay, now this one is the example, hortatory exposition example. You have thesis, argument, and recommendation. Okay, thesis, argument, and recommendation. This one is the thesis. So here in argumentative text, what you should have is your opinion, your thesis. While in narrative text, you do not have your thesis or opinion. So that is one that makes narrative and argumentative different. In narrative, you tell stories. In argumentative, you defend your opinion. So you should have your thesis. In the example, this one is the opinion, the thesis. In all the discussion over the removal of lead from petrol and the atmosphere, there does not seem to have been any mention of difference between driving in the city and the country. So this is the thesis, the opinion. And then the thesis should be supported by arguments, and then it it is closed by the recommendation by the writer. Okay, another genre is analytical exposition. The social function is to persuade reader or listener that something is the case. Now here it is different from the previous exposition. In the previous exposition, here hortatory exposition, you have thesis, arguments, and recommendation. But here the generic structure is more detailed. You have thesis, here you have position, and then preview, arguments, points, elaboration, and then repetition of the thesis. Okay. Here use relational processes. The dominant process is relational process. Okay, and then we have review here. Review, you have evaluation. Now, the social function is to critique an artwork or event for a public audience. This one is review. Seperti review restoran, review makanan, review konser, musik, review buku, and so on. That belongs to this one. Nah, okay. My final remarks is that again, when we write, we have time. Though sometimes we do not have space. We are limited in space, right? When we live, we are limited in time and space, right? But in writing, we are limited in the space, not time. Therefore, we need to be aware of the language that we use. And according to this, grammar, then we need to consider our choice of linguistic items, choice of language there, in order to achieve particular goal or particular social function there. Now, and then writings can be examined by many other language features. In this talk, I just mention or just discuss the transitivity and the processes there, material process, relational process, mental process, and so on. But actually you can also talk about, for example, modality, for example, the use of pronoun, the orthography, for example, the font, for example. You can talk, you can discuss, you can examine writing by other language features. And as the lecturer, for example, or teacher, we can be aware whenever we, for example, check our students' writing, for example, or when we teach, our students to write, then we can, pay more attention to the choice of language. These are my references. Thank you. I think that's all that I can say. Then I thank you for having me, and I return to I return the screen to the chair. Thank you. And then we have discussions.
Okay, thank you, Pak Simon, for sharing materials about style on writing, narrative versus argumentative text. So, everyone still over here, semuanya masih di sini ya, masih survive. Okay, and then now in this time for question and answer session, we will have 15 to 20 minutes. And yeah, once again, you can write your question in the chat box here. Okay, let me read the first questions. Ini dari Ningrum Skarsari. Nah, can we have the soft copy of the material, sir? Yeah.
Yeah, of course. later on, I will send the material to the committee, and then maybe the committee can share the material to the participants.
Okay. Well, jadi nanti kita bisa participants bisa download dari link yang akan nanti kami berikan gitu ya. Kami tunggu dari Pak Simon terlebih dahulu untuk mengirimkan kepada kami gitu. And then the next questions from ini dari Pak Haris ya, Pak Haris. Thank you Pak Haris. Nah, ini pertanyaannya tadi di awal-awal dikatakan bahaya atau kerugian kalau kita terlalu preskriptif gitu. Tetapi generic structure ini menurut saya kok juga sangat preskriptif karena penulis harus mengingat struktur. Bagaimana mengatasi situasi yang too preskriptif ini, Pak? Okay. Silahkan, Pak.
Right. All right. So yes, when we have prescriptive grammar, then the goal is to say whether or not the language that we use is grammatical or not grammatical. But when we have this functional grammar, then the focus or the goal is not it's more descriptive. The language, it describes the language that we use. So, and how it works. So the focus is on the function, the purpose. So therefore, it is called, you have generic structure. Generic is general, but of course you can modify. You can modify the structure as long as the social function is achieved. Language is, Language is like a living thing, right? It evolves. Therefore, whenever the form doesn't work anymore, then of course we can change it, right? Biasanya memakai generic structure A. Kemudian di suatu waktu A itu sudah tidak bisa digunakan untuk menyampaikan fungsi itu, misalnya social function, then generic structure itu akan berubah. So the focus again is not the structure. Kalau preskriptif pokoknya harus seperti ini. Kalau tidak seperti ini maka salah begitu. Tetapi kalau deskriptif itu ya penggunaannya biasanya seperti ini to achieve that particular purpose or meaning. Ketika ada perubahan-perubahan yang terjadi karena perkembangan-perkembangan bahasa, maka itu ya memang bahasa seperti itu. Tujuannya adalah bagaimana cara achieve mendapatkan goal dalam komunikasi itu, dalam menggunakan bahasa itu. Begitu, Pak Haris?
Ya, itu tadi penjelasan dari Pak Simon. Mudah-mudahan Pak Haris ya. Oke, one to the next ya. Ini ada pertanyaan lagi dari Hasan Halawi. Pak Simon, bisakah dijelaskan lebih lanjut komponen-komponen paling substansial yang ada di dalam dari tesis statement Pak Simon? Bisakah dijelaskan lebih lanjut komponen-komponen paling substansial yang ada di dalam tesis statement?
Ya,
Silakan.
memang kalau kita menulis argumentative text, itu argumentative text apapun, itu yang paling penting adalah thesis statement. Maka memang harus kita lihat thesis statement-nya. Saya ada beberapa, dan itu sudah dibahas di beberapa buku di academic writing. Bentar. Ketika kita, apakah suara saya masih terdengar?
Iya.
Nah, elemen paling penting dari thesis statement adalah thesis sendiri. Thesis sendiri itu berarti harus ada opinion. Dari opinion, bukan fakta. Maka biasanya kalau saya mengajar tentang membuat thesis statement, maka hal pertama adalah membedakan mana yang opini, mana yang fakta. Jika didiskusikan dengan menggunakan penggunaan model, for example, itu bisa misalnya Yogyakarta, for example, this is my example. Yogyakarta should have more hospitals. Itu opini, thesis, right? Tetapi bandingkan dengan Yogyakarta has 5 hospitals. Itu fakta. Jadi yang paling penting adalah adanya opini kalau di thesis statement. Nah, opini itulah yang akan nanti disupport di bagian-bagian selanjutnya. Ada thesis, kemudian ada arguments. Di arguments itu nanti kita bahas banyak kenapa harus punya 5 hospitals, kenapa 5, dan seterusnya itu nanti dikembangkan di arguments, bagian arguments. Tetapi elemen paling penting dari thesis statement itu harus ada thesis. Begitu. Begitu?
Ya. Berikutnya ada kelanjutan dari pertanyaan Pak Haris tadi. Jadi strukturnya bisa diubah-ubah asal social function-nya bisa tercapai ya Pak? Karena kadang-kadang di pengajaran justru guru-guru menekankan pada struktur itu, kalau tidak sesuai struktur lalu dinyatakan salah. Terima kasih. Fenomena yang sering terjadi. Baik, silakan Pak Simon.
Iya, jadi itu memang sudah ditangkap juga oleh beberapa ilmuwan ya. Locke di sini. Nah, John and Locke ini memang ada tendensi bahwa pengajaran itu atau buku-buku yang digunakan itu focus more on forms than meaning. Few learning grammar as mainly about learning and applying rules. View grammar as clearly separate from vocabulary and other aspects of language, for example. Nah, memang ada tendensi seperti itu. Tetapi menurut saya itu form dan meaning memang tidak bisa dilepaskan. Tetapi ultimate goal-nya bukan selesai di form, tetapi bagaimana kita menyampaikan meaning. Tuh, kita gunakan form untuk deliver, to communicate, to deliver meanings, to communicate, atau untuk hal-hal lain, misalnya to persuade, to tell stories, and so on. So fokusnya ke apa yang akan kita capai dulu, goalnya di mana, gitu. Misalnya kita mau pergi ke Prambanan, gitu misalnya, atau saya mau pergi ke Pacitan, gitu misalnya. Nah itu tinggal kita pikir mau naik apa, gitu. Nah begitu. Jadi bukan berarti terus kalau ini harus naik bis, gitu. Kalau naik naik motor nggak bisa gitu. Nah, itu bedanya seperti itu. Jadi naik motor juga bisa asalkan tujuannya tercapai. Purpose and meaning itu tercapai. Tentu saja purpose dan meaning itu tidak semena-mena kemudian oh berarti formnya bebas suka-suka saya begitu. Ya tidak seperti itu juga karena bahasa itu konvensi juga karena kalau kita maksud saya seperti ini tetapi ditangkap orang lain berbeda maka berarti ada sesuatu yang tidak tepat di sana begitu. Jadi generic structure itu semacam apa yang biasanya ada deskriptif ya, apa yang biasanya ada di penggunaan bahasa. Jadi generic structure di sini misalnya itu bukan rule yang kalau tidak begini maka keliru seperti itu. Ya saat ini penggunaan bahasa itu seperti ini. Kalau menulis hortatory exposition, nah, itu maka generic structure-nya seperti ini. Jadi besok mungkin kalau ada perubahan penggunaan bahasa ya bisa jadi generic structure-nya akan berubah. Menurut saya seperti itu. Terima kasih. Begitu?
Iya, Pak Simon. Terima kasih. Berikutnya masih ada pertanyaan lagi. Ini dari Arilia Justisiana. She wants to ask, I ever heard about one of the argumentative genres, that is discussion. Would you please explain the comparison among analytical, hortatory, and discussion?
Ya, discussion itu juga salah satu genre yang bisa, menurut saya bisa juga dimasukkan ke argumentative genre. Hanya pada kesempatan kali ini belum saya masukkan ke PowerPoint. Nah, perbedaannya itu ada di kalau discussion itu social function-nya adalah mendiskusikan dua points, dua view tentang sesuatu. Nah, jadi harus ada dua hal yang didiskusikan kalau itu discussion. Jadi tapi sama-sama harus ada argumennya di sana, sama-sama harus ada tesisnya di sana. Karena ini argumentative text juga. Gitu. Ada suara.
Ya, ini kok ada suara. Okay. Well, thank you, Pak Simon. We still waiting next question, masih dari Ariela. Jadi ada dua kubu ya Pak, begitu. Wah, pro dan kontra ya.
Kubu apa ini Bu? Kalau soal grammar tadi itu, pandangan tadi itu sebenarnya juga kubu juga bukan, tapi itu hanya cara. Halo, ini kok ada suara? Nah, ada suara. Ya, nah sebenarnya bukan kubu juga ya. Kalau kubu itu kesannya ada dua yang berseberangan gitu. Kalau soal grammar tadi itu hanya perbedaan perspektif dalam melihat bahasa. Yang satu itu perspektifnya itu form, yang satu perspektifnya dari function begitu. Jadi ada meaning tertentu kemudian diwujudkan dengan form itu, misalnya seperti itu. Ada form tertentu, jadi pandangannya yang satu itu fokus ke form, yang satu fokus ke function, hanya perbedaan pandangan. Tetapi elemennya di dalamnya sama, ada form, ada function gitu. Oh, maksudnya di text discussion. Di text discussion Bisa jadi ada dua kubu begitu, tapi bisa jadi juga hanya membahas apa namanya dua-duanya seperti apa itu juga bisa. Jadi kalau membahas dua hal kemudian hanya comparing itu juga bisa saja, itu discussion. Tetapi nanti harus ada view dan recommendation di akhir gitu. Recommendation di akhir. Untuk lebih jelasnya mungkin di buku ini itu penjelasannya saya pikir cukup jelas di buku ini. Mungkin kapan-kapan kita bisa diskusi lagi untuk buku ini sebentar. Nah tadi this one making sense of functional grammar, this one. Diskusi pembahasan soal genre yang tadi kita bahas itu dari buku Making Sense of Functional Grammar ini tadi. Yes.
Yes. Masih ada pertanyaan lagi, ini dari Graciela Stefani. In narrative story, how does one balance between descriptive paragraph and dialogue? Also, what is the specific function of descriptive paragraph and dialogue in a narrative text? How does one decide to use one and not the other? Okay.
All right. So, in narrative text, you can have descriptive paragraph. Paragraph means in the text you may have a description of the character, for example, description of the setting, for example. But again, what you should not forget is the function. Whenever that description should, that description should not stop there, but the description should support the function. In narrative text, the function is to entertain or to amuse the readers or listeners. Therefore, that description should always refer to that function. So you can check by yourself whether or not this description can also give contribution to the entertaining aspect of the narrative text, for example. Kalau misalnya description-nya itu terus stop di deskripsi aja, maka teksnya tidak jadi naratif, karena deskripsi itu harus support function-nya tadi itu, gitu. Dan tentu saja memang dalam teks narasi itu bisa jadi ada description. Di teks argumentatif itu bisa jadi ada narasinya, gitu. Misalnya kita membuat review tentang restoran misalnya. Nah, di dalamnya kita bisa bercerita di dalamnya bahwa saya mengunjungi restoran ini kapan, bersama siapa, waktu itu memesan apa. Itu juga naratif, tetapi di dalam tapi narasi yang di dalam review tadi itu harus support bahwa cerita itu mendukung tesis saya, gitu. Nah, juga ketika kita menulis narrative text, segala sesuatu yang di dalamnya itu harus mendukung the social function of narrative text, to entertain, to amuse, to recall something, for example. Gitu.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Pak Simon. And the question from Graciela tadi ya, it is for our last questions, yeah. Yeah. And then next, the next session is conclusion. Maybe Pak Simon can give a brief, a closing remark of our presentation, your presentation today.
All right, thank you very much. So I would like to again to say thank to the committee, to STKIP Pacitan and also to English Letters Department of Sanata Dharma University for having me here in this session to talk about writing, narrative, and argumentative text. Hopefully, this is not the end of our collaboration. In the future, we may have another collaboration. We would like to hear ideas. We would like to have, insights from the others, for example, other perspective and so on. So hopefully we can have another webinar session. And also I do apologize whenever in my delivery I made mistakes, and also hopefully this session to be fruitful for all, and hopefully I deliver some useful ideas for you all. And thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pak Simon. And I think this is the end of our meeting. Again, I would like to thank you to Pak Simon for sharing with us. Please give a big applause for him. And then thank you also to Pak Haris from Universitas Sanata Dharma from English Letters Department who joined this webinar, and also to Bu Kusna for preparation for today's event. Yeah. For the information, if you miss some part of the presentation today, you can download it on nanti akan dikirimkan ya, termasuk juga sertifikatnya. Sertifikat would be ya. Peserta jangan lupa untuk mengisi presensi kehadiran, bisa lihat di link yang tadi di share dalam chat box ya. Nanti bisa diklik di situ, dan untuk sertifikatnya akan dibagikan via link setelah webinar. Yeah. And once again, thank you very much for the participants. Thank you, Pak Simon. Thank you, Pak Haris. Thank you, Bu Kusna. Hopefully, we can see you again in another event. Thank you, and see you everyone. Bye. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.